Welcome to another Acumatica tutorial. My name is Zach Mayer with the Mayer Group, and today we're going to be discussing kits in Acumatica. Alright, so here I am on my home page for my demo company, and we're going to try to navigate to our two different kit forms. And we have two ways of doing that. First, we can always use our universal search. So if I were to type in kit, we're going to see our kit assembly and our kit specifications forms here. Now we see that they're both located under the inventory category. So the other way to navigate to these forms would be on our main page or whatever page you're currently on, navigating over to our sidebar, finding inventory, and then we see kit assembly as well as kit specifications under their two different categories here. Now if we were on our quick menu, they may not both be showing. So here we have our kit assembly, but not our kit specifications, and that's just because it's not selected for our quick menu. So we could change that, and now we have it under our quick menu as well. So we're going to navigate first to our kit specifications form, and this is where we're going to create or modify any of the kits we have in our system. So looking at this screen first, we see our different components in this table at the bottom. So a kit is essentially an item that is made up of multiple components, and those could be stock components or non-stock. So here, if you ever want to create a new kit, we can always use our Add New Record button at the top, or we can search any of our existing kits to look at the different components and settings for those. So here we have a day to night set as our inventory ID for our kit. We also see if it is currently active, as well as if we want to allow component additions here. And then you also have a non-stock checkbox depending on what type of components make up your kit. The next section here on our kit header is going to be the revision. So the nice thing for kits is that you can have multiple revisions of them, and you can choose if you want to use a numbering system or a letter system. So in this case, we have a revision A, and if we were to make any adaptations, we could always save that as a revision B. So we can take a look back at the different versions we've had and see the changes between them. And then of course the description, which gives a brief summary of what this kit is. So for this example, we have stock components. You could always have non-stock as well. But for this example, we only have our stock components here. So we have 4 components that make up this set. So first we're going to have our component ID, and you can always click on any of these and then it'll open a new window and show us some more details on our stock items form. If your kit used non-stock items, it would bring up the non-stock form instead. So here we see the inventory ID as well as all the different information about this specific item. So we have our item class information as well as the base unit or the purchasing unit, and what type of any conversions we may have here, as well as you also see this checkbox that tells you if this item is actually a kit itself, and in this case it is not. If you have any price or cost information, that'll all be stored in here, and all the other information you would typically find on your stock item form. We also see our component quantity. So if this day to night set kit had 2 Sound Sleep Co. component IDs in each kit, we could change that component quantity to define as 2. And you can define any of these to whatever number you need for your kit. We also have the component quantity variance, if you want to allow that or not, as well as the minimum and maximum quantities, as well as our disassembly coefficient. So these are all the different components that we have on our specification form. And again, if you needed to use non-stock components, you would have the same information just under a separate tab. So next we're going to navigate to our second kit form, which is our kit assembly. So we see that I've created one kit assembly so far, and of course if you always need to add a new one, you always have that Add New Record button. But if we take a look at the one that I began working on, this is what our kit assembly form is going to look like. So the first option we're going to have is our type. So you have 2 different types you can select from, and that's going to be production, which is you could also call assembly or disassembly. So you're deciding if you're assembling or disassembling your kit through this form here. Normally, if you were creating a new record, it would just say new under your reference number, and then it'll auto increment a new number once you save that. Here our current balance is balanced, but it could always be put on hold if we were to check that off. But because it's not on hold, we have a balanced status right now. We have our inventory ID selected already based on what I've inputted here, which is our back to basic set, as well as the current revision we're working with. If you were to be working with a disassembly, you could also define a reason code for that. We're also going to pick a warehouse. Now this setting will not be an option if you don't have the multiple warehouses function enabled in Acumatica, but because I have two warehouses here, I have my main warehouse and my quarantine warehouse, I'm going to select which one I'm working with. Because of having multiple warehouses, I'm also going to pick the location. So in this example, I'm using my receiving location in the main warehouse. You can also select your unit of measure. So in this case, I can use an each or a pallet, and then I enter what my quantity is as well. Now, because I started working on this yesterday, which was July 6th, that is the date that's been entered here. But if I want to update that to today's date, I always can. And it'll default to the post period, to the current post period as well. And then down here, we're going to see some pretty familiar information. A lot of this looks the same as what we saw on our kit specification form, where we have the different inventory IDs for our various components. We're going to see the location for each component, which is being pulled from our location we defined up here in the header, as well as the quantity we entered in the header also. It's then going to pull in any unit cost information that's defined for the inventory ID. And again, if you have any reason codes defined for a disassembly, they'll appear here as well. Now again, if we're using non-stock components instead, all of that information would be displayed on this tab. And then we have our kit allocations tab where we can see any quantities we want to generate, our unassigned quantity, as well as our lot or serial number. You can generate one here, as well as select any different lot or serial number options you have located here in your system. So here we have our main serial number system that I'm using for our main warehouse. So we see the quantity on hand, the quantity available, as well as the expiration date. Then finally, you have a financial details tab where it can define a batch number if you were to generate a batch. Now if we give that a save, we still have a balanced status here. Now that status can change again if we were to put it back on hold or if we were to release it. Now if we were to release it, we're actually going to get an error for this example. And that's because if we look down here, at the bottom we see our red warning symbol which says that the inventory quantity for our third inventory item here will actually cause our main receiving warehouse to go negative. So we don't have enough of that specific item available for that quantity of 2. But if we were to go in and receive more of that item and then prevent it from going negative, we'd then get a green checkbox up here and our kit assembly would be released. If we go back to our main form, this would change from a balanced status to a released status, and we would see all that reflected from here. And if we were to continue creating more and more kit assemblies, this chart would begin to fill up. And of course, you can always filter the information here by clicking on any of these headers here. Now we only have one record right now, but if we had multiple and we wanted to define which type, if we only wanted to look at disassemblies, we could do that. Or you can always click in this top left corner again and change any of the columns we have here in our table. So if we wanted to add a new column or remove, we could do that. So let's say we want to take out our notes column. We can pull that out, hit OK, and then make any changes. So that's going to be a quick summary overlook at kits in Acumatica. If you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to the Mayor Group and we'd be happy to walk you through it. But we will definitely have some more Acumatica tutorials coming out soon, so keep an eye out for those. And thanks for watching.